well, we have like 10,000 dashboards. My first question, do you need 10,000 dashboards? And like, we ask ourselves that all the time. Do we need all these dashboards? Actually, I'm of the belief that you need about 5 dashboards and a Genie. Basically, the reason why you have dashboard variability or variance is because everybody wants to see data their own way. And it all depends upon how high up the food chain you are. If you're high enough, we'll make you your own dashboard. If you're not, well, there's export to Excel. Manage yourself.
We will be happy.
Right.
Today, I have the pleasure to host my friend Franco Patano for the second time in the channel. He was invited, I think, 1.5 years ago to talk about streaming tables, price view, but mainly how Databricks is pushing the boundaries with the DBSQL. And he's back. Hi, Franco.
Hey, everybody. Franco Patano. I'm a principal solutions architect at Databricks. Been with the company going on 7 years now. I joined in the early days before we had a SQL product. I didn't know it at the time, but Databricks wanted to go into data warehousing, and my background was data warehousing and DI. And I had no idea why they originally hired me. I remember I had a conversation with one of the co-founders. I was like, what am I doing here? It's a company full of data scientists and data engineers. He's like, don't worry. Just study, learn as much as you can. Just wait. And then a year later, we bought Redash and started our SQL product. So
unfortunately, I haven't had the chance to meet you this year at the Data and AI Summit. So I wanted to know first, what was your impressions about this year conference, and what was like the announcement that maybe impressed you the most?
This one's hard. So first off, the reason why I think we haven't seen each other is just the growth of Summit over time. When I first joined the company in 2019, we barely fit, I think, in one of the Mosconis. And now we've completely taken over that part of San Francisco. And I think this was a record year of people showing up.
Yeah, I think we had 22,000 people on site, if I'm not wrong.
Which is
insane.
Amazing. Happy to be here. Happy to be on this journey. I used to have crazy, wild aspirations of Databricks 6 years ago, right? People used to say I was nuts. And nowadays it's like, man, even my wildest imagination does not kind of match where we are. We've exceeded all of my aspirations. So it's great. It's also on the flip side, like I used to be able to pinpoint things at Summit, like this thing is going to be wild. Now it's like, I can't pinpoint just one thing anymore. It's kind of like there are so many great things happening cohesively across the platform at the same time. One of my favorite things that is not like earth shattering. It's not like amazing tech. It's not like some research thing that came down from the gods, the smart gods that we have at Databricks and make it happen. It was actually a super duper simple thing as Databricks One. How do you put a front door to the data of intelligence platform for the every user, the regular business user who doesn't know what to do with the notebook, who can't write code, who basically can just dictate or type what they want in natural language, right? If you think about these new AI tools, that's what we're enabling, is a whole new interface to interacting with your data platform. We're still going to have backwards compatibility code things for the engineers and the scientists. But now there's a whole new type of user that we have to build for. I think it's the early days of this. I think that we're going to see a lot more simple interfaces to accomplish tasks. You're seeing some of that with agent bricks right now. We're going to be able to deploy agents across these enterprises to handle all the repeatable work. That's another amazing thing that I think was announced that I don't think people truly understand the impact it's going to have right now because they can't see it. But I think agent bricks is going to be ridiculous. How it's going to modernize these enterprise processes over time. There's going to be friction. A big part of this, I think people gloss over. It's about people and process as long as product. Databricks brings the best product for sure. But like you've also got people and process to worry about. So it's not always just the product. There are a long tail of, I think, super important other things that didn't get a whole lot of wow. One of them I saw on LinkedIn this past week. somebody said, oh, AIBI is amazing. And somebody had a complaint, like doesn't even have undo redo. And it's like, maybe you should check again because it's got undo redo. And they released like a ton of features at Summit and just a few weeks ago after Summit that basically brings AIBI up to what I consider like 95% parity with these BI tools. To get to, I don't think people understand the gravity of this. AIBI wasn't a product 5 years ago. It did not exist. In the past 3 years, the engineering team has built 95% compatible modern BI tool that just, it makes itself. You can text to viz, like you can make visualizations just from a prompt. Tableau couldn't do that in 10 years. Tableau was messing with NLP 10 years ago. I remember I was one of their testers at one of their summits. They were messing with NLP 10 years ago. Tableau couldn't figure it out in over 10 years, right? And our engineers figured it out in 3, bringing 95% comparity to the market. I think that's amazing. And I don't think we've done enough talking about it. I think partially because we want to wait till it's 100%. I think our founders and leaders are a little too safe. They're really hesitant to pull the trigger until it's 100%. But I got to be honest, I've got customers that are migrating from legacy, like SSRS, and maybe some naive Power BI. And they're like, well, it handles 100% of what we need. And so why would we pay licenses for a BI product? Usually the second question that comes up is like, well, we have like 10,000 dashboards. And it's like, my first question, do you need 10,000 dashboards? And like, we ask ourselves that all the time. Do we need all these dashboards? And it's like, we don't think you do. Actually, I'm of the belief that you need about 5 dashboards and a Genie to back them up. Basically, the reason why you have dashboard variability or variance is because everybody wants to see data their own way. And it all depends upon how high up the food chain you are. If you're high enough, oh, we'll make you your own dashboard. If you're not, well, there's export to Excel. Manage yourself.
We will be happy.
Right. So I have one customer that migrated all of their legacy SSIS, SQL Server, and SSRS reports to Lakeflow and AIBI, and they went from like 1,000 dashboards to I think 10 and a Genie, and the business got there, and their analysts were elated because they had less immediate requests to handle one-off requests because Genie was just taking care of it. So I think if you were to pigeonhole me to one thing, I think I'd pick Databricks One, but I think everyone would be upset that I didn't pick the 25% increase for no extra cost in DBSQL. They're like, why wouldn't you pick that one? Because isn't that amazing? You basically gave away performance for no extra cost. Meanwhile, the competition is giving performance, but they're making people pay for it. They're kind of like recouping some of that cost. Whereas Databricks took the other way approach. We're like, no, here's an extra 25%. Our nerds actually took a look at the data and it was like, it really doesn't affect us that much to give them a little extra bump. But it actually impacts the customers greatly. I think Josue just did an analysis and he's like, the longer the queries, the bigger the uptake you get. And DBSQL is already really good, really price performant at small queries. If you have a lot of short running queries that fire off at variable time during the day, serverless, you cannot beat the value of serverless SQL. We've run a crap ton of benchmarks and we've tested this and we've modeled it. There's no way to if you have a bunch of short running jobs that have like less than 5 minutes that spawn every hour from like Airflow or something, serverless SQL just can't be beat. It's the best at handling that stuff because you don't pay for ramp up and ramp down. You don't pay for scale up and scale out. It just happens instantaneously. And then on top of that, for the stuff that it wasn't super great at was the longer running queries. We basically just trimmed off 25% off that and made it more competitive against other products. So, isn't that the best thing? We've been giving customers price performance away for the past 3-4 years. It's been getting consistently better. There's a chart that we have. Probably everyone has seen it. Performance 77% we've given back to these customers. What's an extra 25%? Actually, my argument is we've given 77% over the past 2 years, and now you give an extra 25%. Is that a big deal? I mean, to the customers it is, but in the grand scheme of things at Databricks, actually like a little extra performance boost will make the business users happy. But those are kind of the things that were super interesting. And then there's a bunch of runners up. The Iceberg compatibility is fantastic. The Unity catalog upgrades were fantastic. Lakeflow, super excited about Spark declarative pipelines. Really hope the open source community like embraces that. But those are like some of the things. I'm sorry I don't have one big thing. It's just I think Databricks is too big now for one thing anymore. Oh, how did I forget? Oh my gosh, Databricks Free Edition. How long have I been complaining internally about Community Edition? For years, years. No, our Community Edition, which was the free version of Databricks, just to kind of like set because there's a huge amount of confusion about this. There is free trials at Databricks. That it's 2 weeks free trial. You get a little bit unbounded sizes of warehouse. And if it's all serverless, we include the compute and the storage. But it's only free for 2 weeks and you get to choose sizes. And it's a little bit different of an experience. Databricks Free Edition is the spiritual successor to Community Edition, where it's always free forever, permanently. You just get really, really small compute. Like it's really only meant to like train, experiment, and learn. Give you a great example.
Yeah, you're a student or maybe a developer or someone aspiring to, I don't know, increase or enhance DB knowledge.
It's fantastic. And finally, Databricks SQL is now available. Actually, what it really, for all you nerds out there, there's a brand new architecture type that some of you older Databricks customers might know this. Modern Databricks is actually a completely different architecture underneath the covers. It's completely serverless, managed storage. It's a whole new app. For all intents and purposes, it's a whole new app. Databricks Free Edition is built on this new architecture. And that's why it has all the new tools, including Databricks SQL. Because Databricks SQL was the first serverless product to actually be serverless. Now all the other products are. So that's kind of why it's been a long, long time and a pain of mine, because we've had the new products DBSQL out for years. It's been 2025. It's 5 years now. We launched in 2020. But it's never been available on the free edition. And so finally now we have DBSQL available on Databricks Free Edition. It's absolutely fantastic. You should check it out.
Since you're talking about DBSQL, what if you walk us through maybe the latest features we have added? Because I know a bunch of people were complaining about not having store procedures, dump tables, cursive CTs, and a bunch of other features.
I call these lovingly the warehouse holdout features, the last bastion of warehouse holdout features. Before we'd like go into what we're doing, I feel like you have to preamble this with why, along with a little bit of context. So what are stored procedures, temp tables, multi-statement transactions, multi-table transactions, SQL scripting? This is kind of the suite of features that's the last bastion of warehouse holdout. So why didn't Databricks invest in them earlier? Well, SQL was really used as primarily a query language in Spark forever, like ever since Chart SQL launched. It was more of a way to just query the data in an analyst-friendly way, like query side. If you wanted to manipulate data in Spark, traditionally you wouldn't do it in SQL. In the early days, like in the early 2010s, you would do it with Scala. And then over time, I think in 2019, 2020, we doubled down with the Python community to be more Pythonic in PySpark. And so over the years, actually today in Databricks, it's mostly 50-50 SQL and Python. It's like 1 or 2% is Scala and R and Java and the long tail of other stuff now that we have Spark Connect. But like it's basically SQL or Python. And so if you wanted to do programmatic, what are these things? This last bastion of warehouse holdout stuff, it's to do ETL in a warehouse. And so like why didn't we do these things? Because traditionally you would do the ETL not in the warehouse. You would use like an Informatica, a data stage, SSIS to do your ETL. It didn't become popular until I would say like 10, 15, 20 years ago to cut out the ETL tool, because Informatica started nickel and diming all their customers and making it really expensive. Microsoft shot back with SSIS, which cornered the market for a little bit. But then another part of these crafty warehouse engineers were like, nah, push the compute to the warehouse. Just give me an extra, I don't know, Informatica costs $1 million a year. Uh, give me an extra 250 grand in hardware on the warehouse. We license the warehouse software. We get unlimited use. We'll do the ETL. We'll call it ELT. We load the data raw into the warehouse. We'll process it. On-prem, when you owned the hardware, you owned the network, and you license unlimited use of the software, you could do this. It wasn't efficient. Warehouse engines were not efficient in processing data. They were primarily built. The OG use case for a warehouse was get me the data out of this thing and into my BI report as fast as possible. That was the original use case. Processing data was not necessarily something that a warehouse did. But then these crafty engineers were like, I could save so much money on these ETL tools. And business folks were happy to cut out, a price gouging vendor they were totally happy with doing that. And so along came ELT. And then this kind of proliferation of programmatic extensions to SQL. Teradata had its own version. Oracle had its own version. T-SQL, which is SQL Server, had its own version. It's programmatic extensions to SQL. And what you had now was two versions of lock-in. The data was locked up in the proprietary warehouse's format, and the logic, your ETL, was now locked up in the warehouse-specific SQL language, which the market did not like, because what happens if you wanted to migrate off of data stage Teradata? You'd have to hire a consultant, multiple years, millions of dollars to migrate off of them. So a little bit of the history behind this. It's super contentious. There was no consistent standard. ANSI did not start creating standards for a lot of these concepts until well after these vendors built their own thing. And on Databricks or Spark, you wouldn't really use SQL to manipulate data. You'd use a real programming language. Fast forward to today. Everyone has still been doing ELT. And even now, you've got it in the cloud, where vendors like dbt and Snowflake actually promote you to do it. They're like, no, don't use a ETL engine. Just push it to the warehouse with dbt and Snowflake. dbt supports other warehouse, but let's get serious. It was built for Snowflake. It supports other things, but it was just natively built for Snowflake. And they bring this anti-pattern into the cloud. Is it the right thing to do? We have a lot of customers that have the EMR plus Snowflake pattern, where they would use Spark to pre-process their data to load it into Snowflake. And so I was like, if other customers would use Databricks plus Snowflake, where they would ETL the data in Python, your data engineers would use Python and Databricks, and they would load the data into Snowflake. About 5 years ago, that's what people did. And then Snowflake started developing these data engineering capabilities. They started bolting on Python. And then Databricks started bolting on SQL to do more of these programmatic things. That is a little bit of the history. It's a mess of standards in the marketplace. We didn't, for the longest time, it was like, well, why would you want to use SQL? Just go use Python. Even today, Reynolds Zinn, our chief architect, was like, why are people manipulating data in SQL when there's Python right there? You can test your code in Python. You can't really test SQL. You can test SQL. There's a couple vendors that do it. It's not great. So that's a little bit of the why of the what. The market is fragmented, tons of proprietary lock-in everywhere. And traditionally, people didn't do that in Databricks. But when you cross the chasm from early adopters into the mass market, you have to start supporting these other tools. And so we started investing in these last holdouts to do this warehouse processing inside of the DBSQL warehouse. So stored procedures is the encapsulation of the code to be able to execute it and get a return. SQL scripting, which is doing loops and if conditionals and error handling and all that stuff that happens inside of a procedure. And then you have statement transactions, multi-table, multi-statement. Basically begin, do all these actions, commit or roll back. You can kind of handle multi-tables that way. And then temp tables is a super common way. In old legacy systems, generally you put tempdb on fast SSD storage so that you would get really fast manipulations. So people just think they need to continue doing that, even though it works different on the cloud. You really shouldn't do it. But a lot of times we have to support these things to do like lift and shift migrations. Even though I don't like lift and shift migrations, I think you need to modernize your code. More or less, it's to backwards compatibility support these migration efforts. But that's, it's all coming. I think the one that's trickiest is the SQL scripting is already out. Procedure is out. You can start testing them. temp tables is coming soon. We're just trying to make them a little faster. And then statement transactions. Um, that one's weird because Delta, every DML is a transaction. In every other warehouse, it's not. You have to open a transaction, lock the system, write the transaction, commit the transaction, unlock everything. With Databricks, there's no locks. It's optimistic concurrency with snapshot isolation on the reader. So it's trickier to implement in this type of system, but it gives you better consistency. You get row level concurrency with optimistic concurrency. That just means that like you're not going to lock tables, and if you're not touching the same role, the users won't even see each other. Like they won't even care. They'll just be writing differently. So it's going to be better than what the other vendors provide, but that's kind of the last set of what I would say the holdout warehouse features are to be able to do these lift and shift migrations for your ETL into Lakehouse.